Perfect. So, welcome to today's roundtable. Happy to see you all. I know that some of you are around and some of you might watch the video a bit later. So, we had a bit of a break since March 30, what is 2 months ago. But however, I'm really happy that we have two people today, friends and colleagues presenting their work. So we will have Sophia Nemet from MOME in Hungary, who will talk about a living lab and the notion of edible wild plants, and also what you call the land or the countryside, the wonderful offsite campus that MOME in Budapest is having next to the Balaton Lake. I'm in particular interested in that because if you're talking about food systems and urban spaces, you need to talk also about the peri-urban and rural spaces, might it be for production or for education. And I think we can also have a conversation about how to implement the whole sort of sustainability aspects in the education sector. I just had a conversation with Babette from both Cologne and Paris that the French law requires universities to implement that in the bachelor program, as far as I know. Maybe according to this European Green Competence Framework that I think is extremely helpful. And second, I'm very happy that Marina Arias Royo is joining from the University of Basque Country in Madrid. Um, the way I found you is quite interesting because some month ago we discussed, well, if we're talking about food forests, maybe there's a network of food forests. And to be honest, I never looked it up, and this is how I came across your activity. It's a network, it's a funded project, and it's a consortium of 11 partners coming from 4 countries. So I'm curious to hear more about that later. So this is today's agenda. As always, feel free to put some questions in the chat or immediately weigh in if you think it makes sense. We have more or less 15 to 20 minutes per speaker plus 10 plus minutes for Q&A and a conversation. So, saying that, I would give the floor to Sophia and keen to hear more about the Living Lab that has been planned for a while, and due to some political reasons that were also affecting the funding of your university in Budapest, there is some delay. So keen to hear about your work, Sophia.
Thank you. Let me share my presentation. And first of all, I would like also present Adrienne Bator, who is with us. She's working with me on this project. Actually, the company where she's working for, the Atlas Rise, is my partner company in my PhD. So she will be the presenter for the second part. And for time reasons, probably I would skip to speak about the countryside campus in another time. But let's see how many times we left at the end.
Okay, accepted.
It's two different living lab plan. The original plan was to start the living lab at the site campus at the Lake Balaton, which was not we couldn't get in time. I mean, the university got it only last December, so and I lost 2 years from the research, so that's why I had to start the whole research a bit further. But it's 11 kilometers further, so everything could be adapted here as well, and that's, let's see, as a pilot project for the university one mine, but I'm also happy to talk about what were the plan to embed it into the curriculum, or what was the plan to how to use the land. And actually, we are using that for intensive course weeks. We are going there with the students, but it's a very virgin land, and we would like to keep like that as a regenerative place for our student and for our university members. So let me start my presentation, presenting my PhD. which is focusing on rewilding through co-creation, the role of edible wild plants, and the regenerative design enhancing the biodiversity and resilience. You will have a nutshell about my research, especially focusing on a workshop that I created to pilot the living labs, like micro living labs. I will show you how a simple plant as a stinging nettle, which is on the left-hand side on the photo, can become a tool for regenerative design, ecological awareness, and social connections through co-creation. At the beginning of my PhD, I was focusing these rewilding processes in the touristic area, which is Lake Balaton that I was talking about. What can we do in a place where everything is getting used by human people, and what can the individual do to preserving the biodiversity? Why is it important to revive an ancient habit like foraging in the 21st century? These were the first dose. In my opinion, rural communities across Europe, especially in Eastern Europe, are currently facing a dual crisis. On one hand, ecological degradation and reducing biodiversity due to intensive agriculture and monoculture system. On the other hand, we are witnessing the loss of cultural and ecological knowledge as younger generations move away and traditional practices disappear. These two processes are deeply interconnected. As ecosystems degrade, the knowledge connected to them also fades. At the same time, we see the emerge of neo-ruralism, where people from urban environments move to rural areas. Especially this region is famous from this. During the COVID, a lot of people from the capital, from Budapest, moved to Balaton, to the Balaton uplands, and a part of them rest there, causing or facing tensions with the local communities. Sometimes they are very good cooperation. Sometimes there are difficulties in the everyday life. While this brings new perspective, creativity, and ecological awareness, it also creates tensions. Local communities may perceive newcomers' practices as superficial, while newcomers may reinterpret local traditions in new ways. This creates a complex negotiation space around knowledge, identity, and authenticity. In this context, I propose the plants can act as mediators. Most specifically, I focus on the stinging nettle. The nettle is a particularly interesting plant because it embodies contradictions. In as a weed, that should be removed, but at the same time, it has a long history as food, medicine, and raw material. Because of it is both familiar and overlooked, it can serve as a neutral common ground between different groups. My research explores how we can use this plant as a tool for regenerative design through a participatory workshop format. I focus on three main questions in my workshop. How multisensory engagement influences ecological awareness, how different participants co-create solutions, and what role tasting plays in this process. The research is embedded in a long-term living lab in a small Hungarian village called Menchely. And if you are looking the distance, it's 11 to the lake, but on the lake, we can find a place here, our campus is. So it's in a very good location. So Menchely is a small village where the goal is to support ecological and cultural regeneration. Within this framework, I developed a series of workshops, nettle workshops, which functioned as micro-living labs to test how the real living lab would function. These allow me to test methods in diverse contexts, with participants ranging from designers and students to local residents and international audiences. I had a chance to test it in New Delhi and in Prescott College as well, communities. The core of the research is a 5-step workshop methodology designed to move participants from cognitive understanding to embodied experience and finally to action, which is the aim of the workshop. The first step is an emotional connection. Participants choose plant forms that reflects their current emotional state, creating a personal and symbolic relationship with the plant. This helps to establish an initial engagement beyond purely intellectual understanding. The second step reframes foraging. Instead of seeing it as a niche or outdating activity, it presents as a part of ecological thinking, emphasizing sustainability, seasonal awareness, and the The third step is the core of the workshop, called the anatomy of the nettle. Anatomy of the nettle. Here, participants collectively map the plant's full range of values, including its uses of food, medicine, fiber, and its ecological roles. Steps challenges a perception of the nettle as a simple weed and reveal it as a complex multifunctional system. In the fourth step, the participants engage in co-creation. They work together in design future scenarios that integrate nettle into local context. These ideas range from educational programs and community experiences to product and craft practices. Finally, the first step is tasting. Participants experience the nettles through food and drinks such as teas, energy balls, pastilles, or snacks. This sensory engagement turns out to be a crucial element of the process. I forgot to ask you if, please show me a raised hand if there anybody who has any memories from childhood, from a grandma or an auntie or a mother who were treating them with edible ointments or remedies from remedies. These kind of foods, just to see how many of us has these memories. Nobody? One? Philip? Two? Yes, Jennifer?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of, I guess.
The result of the workshop revealed several important findings. First, creativity was independent from professional background. Designers, educators, and lay participants all produced equal, rich, and diverse ideas. However, their focus differed. Designers tended to create educational and experience-based concepts, while non-professionals often focused on tangible products and practical applications. I have a structure how I use these results, but I don't want to keep you with this. The second was there were clear differences in prior knowledge. European participants were generally familiar with the nettle, but often only in a limited way, as a weed or traditional remedy. In the other context, some participants had no prior knowledge at all. This shows how cultural context shapes their plant perception. The most significant finding, however, was the role of tasting. The multisensory experience had much stronger impact than cognitive learning. Participants who tasted nettle-based food developed a stronger emotional connection to the plant and showed a higher intention to engage in future ecological actions. In contrast, workshop without tasting resulted in weaker engagement. Based on these findings, the workshop demonstrates that regenerative design can be most effective when it combines co-creation, sensory experience, and cultural memory. The plant itself acts as a neutral mediator, allowing participants to build shared understanding without directly confronting social tensions. To conclude, rewilding should not be understood as an individual and purely ecological act. Instead, it is a collaborative and embodied process. By reconnecting people with plants through shared experiences, even small intervention like a workshop can contribute to broader ecological and social regeneration. Do you have the time? Because otherwise I could speak an hour of the topic. So let's connect the net workshop thing with the Living Lab. So this was the pilot project, and the Living Lab, which is in Manchai in a church garden, started the community herb garden, medicinal herb garden, which you can see in the photo. It was the last year intervention. And this year we would like to continue with the food forest in the other part of the church garden, which is a much larger place, but totally empty. I mean, the grass is there, but we have to start from the very beginning. And with the Living Lab and also with other things, what Adrian will let you know. I give the floor to you, Adrian, to show how we are working together. Please present your role and your company background, which can be very interesting in this Horizon project, I guess. So that's why they are here to present their background as well.
Okay, will you handle the presentation, Zsófi? Thank you. So I'm coming from a design studio called Atlas Rise. And we had the next slide. Just a couple of thoughts about us. It's a relatively young company. We are 3 years into our operations, and it's a collective of designers, social scientists, social designers, product designers. But what we aim to sort of show is that how social science design and product design come together to create meaningful changes for businesses and for people, for NGOs. So what we do is mainly trying to use valuable design approaches into every sort of area, coming from business or moving forward to an experimental research like Zsófi's research, as well as engaging with NGOs. And in the next slide, and just give you a couple of ideas of how we work. Usually we help organizations define strategies to clarifying their role, clarifying the environment they are exhibited in, and how this helps to create a meaningful strategy, not just some kind of business-driven ideas and market share optimization. The concept development part is always a very important part in our strategic creation, to translate these strategic directions into tested, validated, and meaningful implemented products and projects. We always look for opportunity gaps and always look for co-creations and coalition possibilities. This is our slogan, saying that if you don't collaborate, you might die. We think that networking and creating ecosystem-based structures and coalitions are the most important single reason that we need to come together and create things together. The next slide, just an idea on the sort of design theory which drives us via these strategies and via these projects. We think that human-centric design is it's important for businesses and for value creation between businesses and personas. But we think that we have to think beyond human-centric design, and we have to understand that the modern human design is something, an eco-centric design view is something to aim for. And our collaboration with Zsófi, I think, brings out the essence, really, what's in it in this theory, how these ecosystem-driven frameworks can create a much more deepened nature and civil engagement in our area as well. And then the next slide just brought you a great visual aspect of our strategic thinking, how society, public policy, business context, and product and service design eventually have to layer upon each other to create this kind of changes that we are trying to aim for. These are strategic practices and system-based thinking, future-based thinking. Speculative design can be any kind of framework or toolbox that the layers are here, and this is how we try to integrate it in every project of our daily basis, work at daily basis. The next slide is a brief introduction to how we create co-creation and coalitions, because eventually Jofi's project and research is based on strong collaborative and co-creation based theories. And I think these kind of principles cover every aspect of her research, how she manages stakeholders in the area of the living lab. And I think we choose eventually living lab because it has a very strong part of creating stakeholder management and stakeholder engagement, how these coalitions create an ecosystem based projects, and how it is covering all the layers, which is essential for building up this meaningful work. And in this project, our involvement was the creation of methodological research and framework development, and helping Jofi to create these theories or to drive these theories into practices, and building a positive impact in the area, as well as in the academic part, and as well as in Menchai. And the last slide, I think, is coming up. It's how we build up, is the visualization, how we build up this living lab. First of all, we created the landscape and ecosystem design and the methodological framework. We created the edible and wild plan pilots with Jopi together. And the next step will be the impact evaluation and impact assessment, which we are already planning on executing soon, and to see and measure how the stakeholders can commit and really get engaged on the long term with this project. So the main outcome that we are planning to release soon, it's an educational platform. It's an interactive digital educational platform, and which will show how this knowledge base and knowledge collection can maintain a long-term engagement. It will have recipes, local partnerships, and every kind of aspect which will be brought upon eventually when the living labs close down for impact assessment. Thank you for listening, and we are looking forward to questions if you have some.
Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful presentation. I think that's really super interesting what you're sharing. And I noted down, of course, some question and comments, but as always, I want to give the floor to other people that might want to run first. Yeah, Sule. And then Jennifer.
Hi everyone. So I think others may be the first time to meet. I'm not sure, but my name is Emmanuel Sule. I work for the Aga Khan University. So now based in Nairobi, just for a few days. Thanks for the presentation. I think I love the Living Lab setup. So first is a comment, really. I think this is amazing, and I like the idea of edible. I think anything that people eat is very easy to catch. But again, I can say I like also the setting of Beyond Humans, because I work with the Maasai, the agro-pastoralists. So their life, the life of the pastoralists is built on the three pillars. So it's people, it's livestock, it's pasture. So anything that livestock eat is also seen as something that people eat. So I think that connection is great. But also another comment on this rural-urban movement is very central in terms of how it affects. I think you have been diplomatically correct in saying that there's no fight on that. But in other parts of our countries, I think there's a real fight, because the urban people seems to be modernized, and they always tell the rural people that you're backward, you need to move fast, and all this stuff. So that's just some simple comments that I think are amazing. They all relate, despite the different contexts. There's a lot of similarities. So my question was only about when you look back in terms of evaluation. So in terms of a pickup on the Living Lab settings, uh, who are the favorites of the Living Lab, the rural or the urban, and why? If there is any sense of, I think it's very early, but that will be an amazing thing to look at these Living Lab settings. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much for your question and comments. Very good question. To be honest, the people that I can catch those ones who were. I made a lot of interviews with locals, not only with those ones who are living there for 30 years, but also new incomers, and the really engaged ones and those who had a nice connection with me say yes to engage to be part of the project. And of course, I'd like to involve the major, which is not really easy. We had some interesting connections, but we could solve it. So that's also a part of the Living Lab, how you can go through the difficulties and how you can not be the student who is coming from the capital and wants to say what to do. And so it's originally not a very good position for creating a living lab in that village. But my perspective was, I moved there. We bought a countryside house some years ago, which I renovated, and I felt that I came to a village which is less than 300 inhabitants, so it's a really small village, and I came there for the weekend and for the holidays, and I felt that, and it's really good for me, and I wanted to give back something for the community. And I found out there are 3 churches from which only one is active, the 2 are abandoned. This one is also abandoned. There's no people at all who is going there, but the building is there in very bad condition. And I had an idea to got the garden to create a community garden for herbs that we can sell for the renovation of the church. So it's completely volunteering. We use the money for the renovating the church, and I thought with this I can also give something to the community with all these living labs, with the workshops, how we use these herbs. I organize workshops, volunteering, how can we make teas, how can we use the edible plants for cooking, and give the knowledge, the background knowledge for that, what they can weed from their vegetable patches between the tomatoes. So, the knowledge transfer could be happened easily, while both parts can benefit. So it's a win-win situation. And this is working, not from the very beginning. It took a very long time here as well. But I think this is also a part of the Living Lab to see how it works and to go through these difficulties. Did I answer your question? Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, I was just interested to know if you already have a sustainability impact assessment framework, or because the project that I work for a consultancy led by Professor Anna Davies in Trinity College Dublin called Sharing Solutions, and it's to do with food sharing. So, but we have a framework mapped to the Sustainable Development Goals that is designed for initiatives like yours, like community growing projects, and it's peer reviewed and it's ready to, you can use it if you need to.
I would love to.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
I contact you?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
This is what frameworks are for. It can be super helpful. I mean, first of all, to understand and to discuss about the baseline. Yeah, thank you. I mean, some comments from my side as well. I mean, Sule, I'm completely on your side. However, I think I perceive, at least in Western Europe, a slightly different notion. Yeah, that it's the other way around, that it's way more appreciated to live on the countryside and to have a specific life in the countryside and a different relation to nature. And to learn from that, I'm a bit skeptical about the term rewilding. I mean, it's been quite used across the discipline. I like what you said, Adrian, about the post-human understanding of ecosystems, because I don't know if we can really rewild. It's really more like sort of redefining this type of relationship. And I think you've shown amazing examples. I like the notion of the micro living lab as well. I take that with me. And we know that living labs are not super well defined. I think they have different notions. I like that you, and I can only emphasize that, and I think Sules, you pointed that out as well. Food and taste goes along with care in the end. Do you have any, so this is my question, any notion of, I mean, right now you just have nettles maybe, but at a later moment you're working with a community, you're coming, maybe you're coming on the weekend, some students are coming, planting stuff. Who is caring for that in the end? I would be super curious whether you already, maybe even also maybe Adrienne in your stakeholder workshop, because it's a community that is evolving. I mean, you're flying in, you're flying out, but somehow there is a long-term care necessary for what you're planting. I mean, did you take that into consideration? And because along the way, the community might change. I'm talking a bit about our current situation where I see this struggle. And I think we see this struggle all over the place because communities are changing according to the topics they're dealing with.
Yes. Thank you for the comments. I will try to answer for both. Actually, it was four, I think. So the tension, I think in Eastern Europe, it's a bit different. So it's more shaped, or so the people from the capital usually wants to live the life in the countryside. So they don't like if somebody is cutting the grass, not because of the ecosystem saving purposes, but because of the noise and I mean the incomers doesn't like when the animals are there because they are smelling and making noises, which I think beautiful and amazing, but it could be disturbing for those who just coming for 1 or 2 weekends. So there are several type of incomers, I think. So the rewilding, I didn't shaped it very well. So the original plan was how the individual or the small community can do rewilding processes in an area where we cannot give the land back to the nature. So we cannot take back beers or, the classical rewilding processes can be done. But I think in our garden, we can also protect the micro biodiversity by not cutting the grass for 2 centimeters, like in a football field, but letting it flourish and to show that at least 15, 20 species are edible in your grass, in your garden, from plantain to what's the name of that in English? Sorry. I also only know in Latin these names, but I will learn it. Yeah, peach pong. You don't know that. Okay, never mind. So you can have a salad from your garden. So with that, and we are focusing on that on the workshops, if you just get your salad from the garden, how many plastic bags you don't use, you don't buy it in the supermarkets, and how can you be more aware, more conscious in these terms of and of course, for answering for Emmanuel as well, if you learn that you can eat from your garden, then you don't use these pesticides and you don't start to use all those things against the weeds, which could be really bad for your health. So your soil will be more healthy, your environment will be healthy, the animals will come back, the small animals. So in a micro rewilding you can make, and with all this process you make a rewilding in your mind. So it's a rewilding of the mindset, which will have which will help you to act more. It gives you ecological awareness, because with this knowledge you will know what you can forage, which season you can forage. This seasonality comes back into your life. You will follow how nature changes in every season. It's always the best for your health, or your body. Your microbiomes in your body will be diverse as well. So every plant has its own bacteria, so you can give prebiotics and probiotics with these. So even if you get some leaves every week, it helps your immune system to maintain. So it's also a win situation. It's also care, because you will take care of your soil as well, how you treat it, because you treat yourself from your garden. And the last question, the long-term question, that's why it's important to have as a community garden. Of course, that's why we started with the herb garden as well, because now I don't have to give any water. Of course, in the summer, yes, but then we can share it which day. I mean, in every third day we give water to the plants, but we can share it. And we can organize events when we maintain the garden. And it could be also a community place to get together for certain events. Young people can go there to chat, to talk, to just be in there. And if we will have trees, then there will be shadow. So it comes, everything is coming with the process. So I don't afraid of that. I'm afraid how will it be? How can we maintain the other part? How can we renovate the church itself? Because when it's money, it's also coming with problems. Who takes care of the money, etc., etc. But it's also good if somebody is helping with volunteering in that as well, but it's not that step at the moment.
I see you are super deep in the project. It really sounds interesting. And I like your step of the anatomy of the nettle when you did the holistic value mapping. And I think you've been mentioning even more the impact on the biodiversity, microbiome, soil, all of those things, but sort of defining this together or exploring this together in a very tangible way with people that is not considered as something very valuable, the nettle, yeah. And then if I see the wonderful dishes that you've been creating, most likely wonderful, and the creativity that you unpacked when you came with the different notions from spa to health, that's super interesting. My final comment, because I think we need to proceed. There's one example I'm always sharing, and I'm putting it in the chat and already put in the Miro. It was nice when I saw the church, because to me, the church, even if we all know churches are in crisis, churches are being sold, people do not go in churches anymore. However, the church to me is basically it's the only institution that has a real long-term orientation. And this paper is about a church in Rianganen, what is a village in Sweden, and they have a long-term orientation of 1,000 years. When the locals were asking for an investment to transfer something into whichever hub, they said, no, we're doing it on our own, but the perspective is not 10 years or 50 years or 6 generations, it's 1,000 years. And I think that's in particular very interesting. So maybe the role of the churches can slightly change, because for sure, I know in Scotland that hundreds of churches are sold right now. Because still, I think we have no new definitions. Quite a few transition town initiatives are related to church. So I think that's really super interesting. Okay, Perfect. So thank you for that. I took some screenshots and put that as well on the Miro, but I like this video as well. So now I would be really happy if Marina, if you could share a bit, and I think there are quite a few connections about the Food Forest Network.
Of course. Let me share if I find it, because I always have problems sharing. Can you see the presentation?
Has started screen sharing. I think it will come up in a second. Yes, now we can see it.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, well, as Philip said, I'm Marina Arias. I'm a researcher at the University of the Basque Country. I live in Madrid, but the university is in the north, in the Basque Country. So what I'm doing now is to coordinate this European project, that is international project. So we are, well, this is the acronym of the project Food Forest. And it is quite complex with many objectives, and it's funded by the EIT Food. Sorry, I see. Do you still see the presentation? Because
yes, now we see your PowerPoint layout, okay. But before we saw the chart.
When I share it completely as a presentation, I cannot see it in full. I don't know. So
then maybe you just browse through it like that. I think that's fine as well.
Okay.
Just need to go back to the second one, maybe.
It's the second, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So it's
yeah, perfect.
It's not okay like that. Well, I try like that. So it's funded by the European Institute of Innovation and Food Technology. The total cost is 2.2 million euros, and they fund 70% of that amount. And we started the project on the 1st of March in 2025, and is a 2 years duration project, which is very short for this type of project.
Yeah.
But we will just start with the food forest, so leave it as a draft. So aside from the 11 partners that we are participating, we also have some beneficiaries from the Rotary Club and some others local. And I have to say that having the Rotary Club, because of their extensive network, international network, it was really significant to get funded. And I say that because I think it's important if you're applying for funding, and institutions that are funding the projects like the EIT Food are asking for impact. Having this type of institutions with big networks are helping a lot. So the Rotary Club, aside from helping us disseminate the project, they are fundraising for the project, helping us in scaling up, and also providing their own materials. For example, they are helping building the website of the project. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in this environment, I don't need to explain what a food forest is, right? I don't see you, but if somebody can tell me if you need an explanation, or I go ahead.
I see nobody asking for an explanation. I think you have a very simplified graphic here. That's quite well.
I go ahead. So in particular, what we are doing in this project is, as I said, is an international project. We are 4 countries participating: Estonia, Italy, Portugal, and Spain. And we are creating physical spaces, food forests in Estonia, in Tallinn, and in Spain, in Navarra, in Artajona. And they are completely different spaces, because in Estonia, we are working with a capital city, and the food forest we are developing is in between buildings. So it's really urban area. And in Navarra, what we are doing is a food forest in a rural area. So they both have really different, how do you say, objectives or aims. In the urban area, we try to tackle problems. Of course, in both places, we work with environmental problems. With the in the urban areas, urban heat is more exaggerated, but we work to fight for climate change, drowning, problems with water infiltration, everything that their food forest is working for. But since we are working with community food forest, we are also tackling problems of isolation, loss of purpose in the cities for some people. We create meeting places, and we work with different social services from the food forests. And in the rural areas, aside from that, they don't have this disconnection with nature problem, but they have another added problem, that is the abandonment of the rural areas. So we try to provide a space that can work on providing new positions for young people and make agriculture more attractive for them. So in this project, as I said, we are only creating 2 food forests, and in Italy and Portugal, they will make their own in the next phase. So this phase is a pilot phase where we are learning on how to create those areas. Of course, every food forest is specific of each area, but we are learning a lot about how to provide some guidance to people that wants to create their own community food forest. So at the beginning, Philippe said that this is a creation of a European Community Food Forest Network, and this is only part of the project, because we, in this Food Forest project, we commit to contact with new communities, find new plots, provide training, and create this platform for a European Community Food Forest Network. So we are committing to create 15 new ones when we finish the Food Forest project. But we also want to give space for already ongoing community food forest projects or initiatives, and for those that are going to be created in the future. So a problem that we saw is that there are many initiatives of creating food forests. This is not new, but people don't know them. So when we ask people about a food forest, mostly nobody knows what a food forest is. So it's important to share all these initiatives, and so give voice to these initiatives so people get to know them and their benefits. So this is, as you see, there are 3 main areas in which we are working in this project. One is the creation of the physical spaces that includes the creation of the European Community Food Forest Network. But we also want all those spaces. At the end, we will have 2 in this first project and 15 more in the next phases. So all these 17 food forests will become living labs and educational hubs. So it will be an amazing place to do research projects in almost every area you can imagine. So this is the first column of the project. Then we have sub-project or educational area, where we are working with institutions going from kindergarten to university level. And we started with the idea of doing 2 different types of education, but along the process we are developing more and more. So the starting point was to provide for primary and secondary education, doing a cascade education. So we work with a driving group made of 8 to 10 students plus a couple of teachers. We provide an initial training, and then we co-create materials for them to become teachers of their colleagues, and then they become teachers and transfer all the knowledge to the rest of the school. And once they have finished transferring the knowledge, then they become citizen science, and they go with a survey to their families or friends about the consumer interests. So once they have collected all the information, they come back to us and we'll teach them how to treat this data, how to interpret it, and how to present. So at the end, we are not only working with food forest permaculture knowledge, but we are also bringing closer the students to the research. So it makes research closer to the citizens. So this is one of the educational possibilities, and the other one was more dedicated to vocational schools and to universities, and is about doing their own small research project. It's also about bringing research closer to them. And what we do is to provide the initial training as well, and then we teach them if they haven't learned already about the research method. We provide some lessons about research method. Then we do some brainstorming, and they have to choose a small project. So in all cases, they do some hands-on work in the food forest, and because Portugal and Italy are also working on the educational project with different schools, what they do, since they are not building their own food forest, what they are doing is to travel with the students to a close by food forest that luckily they could find one close by. So they are doing also some work. In Portugal, for example, they are going to work with a holidays school, in a summer school. So kids will be working with that for a couple of weeks, what I think is also very interesting. So at the end, this educational project is about working with schools and universities and so on, but it's also about dissemination. We are doing a lot of work for disseminating knowledge about all these environmental subjects, rewilding, as Sophia was saying, but also about how this can help our health, physical, mental, and also all the health related to food. So microbiome, the non-transferable diseases, how these places can help us just avoiding those diseases. And then the third big column is about participating in the transition towards a more sustainable food production system. So what we want to do is to provide some business models for farmers if they want to engage with food forests. So at the moment, what we see is that this business model is not economically feasible as standalone. So it usually goes together with some housing, so you can see the food forest and sleep there in the same place, or they have a place for providing courses. So only for food production is not economically viable right now. So we want to know why the actual situation is not supporting food forests for farmers. So what we are doing is to do a very wide consultative process, engaging all stakeholders that we can imagine in transforming this food production system into a viable model. And once we have all this information, we will write some documents to share with policymakers and the farmers themselves. So in all this process, in all the project, we are working with participative processes and co-creation processes as well. So aside from what I have explained, there are many secondary objectives. Like, for example, we want to gather information about all the traditional knowledge of plants, of the use of plants, edible plants, but also medicinal uses or crafting uses. So everything that people can also share with us. So we want it to be a place for experimenting, for sharing knowledge, for the farmers to see how these places work and how they don't use fertilizers or pesticides, and they are still producing food. So I have here some pictures that I wanted to share with you so you can see a bit of the process. They are all from Spain because I didn't have from Estonia at the moment. But this is the training that we provided at the beginning for a permaculture design course with the community so they could design their own food forest. Here we were starting taking some samples to define the baseline scenario. Here they were creating the paths with cardboard and wood chip, and we were providing some talks and explanations. So again, they were creating the paths. We have created some lakes or some ponds, sorry, and we bought many plants. So this was the planting date in November that we gather quite some people. But as Sofia said, the engaging people is not easy. And we also have the same problem, especially with farmers. They don't really like us going there because they think we are going to force them to change their food production system. And they have big machinery and they have invested a lot of money in buying this machinery, and they really see us as how do you say, well, a problematic,
A threat.
a threat,
To their
yeah, trying to
practice, yeah.
change, yeah. So it's really difficult to engage with people, also because of political things. This is a small village, also 1,800 inhabitants. Is bigger than the one that Sofia was talking about, but it's also small, and the land is very big. It's 2.2 hectares, and it's difficult to engage as much people as we need. But slowly, they're coming to like the place, to like the initiative. Kids are amazed. They are just crazy about the place. As you can see here, they really like to go there. And we have been creating some dams as well for the ponds, putting some sticks for the birds to land there. And these are all the sponsors that we have. We are engaging more and more people from the village itself. So people is really helping us work ahead. So thank you very much. And I will be happy to answer some questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Wow, that's not only the Rotary Club, it's the Rotary Green Foundation. So they're pretty much into that. However,
Yeah.
I mean, we should not forget it was the Club of Rome who commissioned the limits of growth. So why not go for the Rotary Club right now? Yes, thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the audience?
I actually have a question. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very interesting. I'm part of the Speisewald Süd project that Philip, Annaluz, and I are facilitating in Cologne right now. And I have a question regarding the expertise on permaculture within the 4 different projects. Do you find local experts that are already working in permaculture in the area, or how are you deciding who can help best in the field or area that you're facilitating in?
So this is a very good question. Thank you, because it has been an issue for us. Because initially I thought I met a person that I thought it was a very good permaculturist, and for me it is very important to have a local to provide training, but also the whole knowledge about community working, how to build a community food forest that is quite different from a food forest itself. I think it was more important than the local knowledge. So I decided to invite this person to the project to provide training. Well, it was agreed with the partners to provide training in all the countries.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, we faced some problems they agreed that it was very, very good to have him on board because he really has a lot of knowledge. He has been working in many different countries, but of course, at the end, you lack the local knowledge. So we have found local permaculturists, not really local from the village, but from the area or from the country. So in Estonia, they engaged with the local permacultural association. And in Spain, we didn't engage with, we had a video call with one professional from Barcelona, but it was not inviting that person because of the budget. We didn't have more budget to have one paid by the project. So, but we are thinking about it in the next phase. It's quite good to have a local one. Also because of the language, that was we always had interpreters, but it was an issue, and people was not really confident to have this person on board. And the thing that we always find is, why is these people coming to tell me what I have to do in my own land? So if they are coming from abroad, this is even more difficult. But we have a moment that was quite interesting for me because the first group of people that got the permaculture design course, they became active agents of the food forest. And once we've heard that the young people, it was very difficult to engage young people, and somebody explained us that they didn't like the trainer. They didn't know him, but they didn't like him because he was coming from abroad. So once we met with one of those young people and one of the people that got the training, none of them spoke English, but the young one was telling me, well, I don't want him to teach me. And the other one really said, it's amazing to hear him talking. I'm learning so much. I cannot speak English, but they are translating all the information. And it's really amazing. I suggest you to give him the chance. And now he's also really amazed. He engaged and he is on board on the food forest creation.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Takes time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're in a similar phase right now where Anna Luz, my co-initiator, she's doing a permaculture training herself, but in Belgium. So similar climate to Cologne, but still a couple of 100 kilometers away. So this was interesting to gain the knowledge how you're doing it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I mean, even the language is an issue. I mean, of course, if we consider everybody to speak English, but once it's really about the more elderly people that are around and that could engage with, they are sometimes sort of resistant to that. I have a question because I like how you put, like, okay, Estonia is urban, Navarra is rural, and the problem is that you need to create opportunities for the younger people. And I was immediately thinking of what happened in China some 6 to 8 years ago when they had this Taobao farmer live streams, you know, when the French chefs went through the countryside and found wonderful species that the farmers were growing. Of course, there's a big political will behind to keep those people on the countryside because we need them. My understanding is that the image of the farmer has been changing through, well, some pop stars, TikTok or whatever. But saying that, do you see any, or did you see any opportunity, or did you encounter any of the young people who were willing to use this as an opportunity as well in the rural parts to sort of acquire this knowledge and then maybe apply this knowledge as maybe as part of a business, or at least with the economic aspects?
Yes, well, at the moment, we only have 2 of these young people that now they have committed to design their place for the young people, for the youth, and they are building a sub-project to engage them also with the Rotary Club, the youth initiative from the Rotary Club. So we are planning to do more actions there, but one of those 2, he has his own land. and he wants to learn to put it in practice in his land.
One of
So
the two sounds like 50%. What is an amazing number.
50%, yeah.
No, I also like, I mean, I think you've been opening up a couple of sort of problem spaces also in terms of the economical viability that is completely different in the urban space and in the countryside. Yeah, whereas the farmers, they might feel pushed, as you said, towards agroforestry, what is a completely different notion. Whereas in the urban context, you cannot make a living out of that. But of course, you need to investigate, from my perspective, things like ecosystem performance, biodiversity, temperature damping, community spaces that you're creating, water retention spaces, sustainable education. All of this is equaling something like a currency that that local governments could see or understand or sort of support in the end. As Clara said, we are facing some similar challenges. So saying that, I think an initiative like this network is extremely helpful. And even if the conditions are very different, some things are very similar. And in the same way as Jennifer was offering to give the impact assessment, of course, there's way more research being done right now. And I know how advanced Trinity College with their project is here. So maybe we have something like that as well, because there are really very few food forest networks around, and there's quite a bit of an overlap. So I think exchanging expertise and knowledge, I'm not talking about capacity building, but at least dealing with similar problems is extremely helpful. Because if it's really about how to attract the younger people, so I like the notion that you've been talking about the educational setting and really going from the kindergarten up to the university. And again, I'm referring to this green competence framework that will be embedded in all sort of educational levels from the European Union. And when you read through that, my feeling was immediately we're ticking 80% of the boxes with what we're doing. We're just not aware of it. So I think we're pretty much on the right track. And if you're planning to have 15 new living labs, I think it's an amazing opportunity. So maybe you get even more. I already articulated we would love to be one of those. So we start the exchange. I will be in Tallinn in the summer as well, and would love to visit that side as well. And then I think really having this network and finding ways to share the experience is extremely valuable for the individual partners. So thank you very much for your presentation.
I would like to share with you that we are creating a lot of educational materials, but also about how to say stakeholder engagement. So all the materials we are creating will be shared, and the ones we can upload to the EU platform will be uploaded. Other ones will be in the website. We are having problems with the website, but hopefully it's going to be ready soon. So you could be just having a look at that. We will share everything.
And I think you've shown quite well with your first charts and your explorations that setting up such an initiative, especially in the urban context, could address very many, very different research questions that you could articulate. And to me, this is a wonderful platform. And going back to the first presentation, how easy it is to get people on board when it's about food and sort of to really experience this very personal relationship. And to set up initiatives like that, and then really to be aware of the very different opportunities for researching questions. Might it be ecological? Might it be economical? Might it be didactical? Is a super interesting thing where we sort of need to find a structured way of exchange. And I'm happy that we are one step further in our dialogue right now.
If any of you want to be invited to this platform, we are creating the form to register in the platform. So please let me know, and I can invite you. I will share my email.
I
in
can
the
also
chat.
share that on the Miro. I mean, as said, not
Okay.
everybody is as active on the Miro as you were, but however, I think we've been doing this nearly for a year right now. So I assume we will have another roundtable in July, and then I want to make some suggestions of how we are going to proceed with that. Of course, it's a very nice informal activity, but after 1 year, I think how can we sort of build on that and what might emerge amongst some of us, and how can we proceed from podcasts to sort of really sharing also stuff on our or an existing platform. We have to look for the common denominator. I think those could be outcomes after 1 year and now 8 roundtables that we had. So
I have gathered some calls as well from EU calls that you wanted me to share with you. I don't know if you want me to put them in the Miro board or
that would be super amazing, because we had this. I mean, this is how we sort of initially started a year ago. When I was looking for projects, and my feeling is that last year there were a bit more calls than this year, but the next year will come. So we were looking for partners, and many of the partners were already involved in consortia. So I also found sometime if you just put it on a Miro, I'll sort of organize it, and then we can make this also part of the next session in July to have maybe a look on on calls that are out, and maybe calls that some of us are in where additional partners might be either welcome or even needed. And I think one asset is as well that we are working also across the continents. We have Shanghai, then we have Kenya and Tanzania, and we also had quite a few people from Brazil in the previous times, what could be super helpful. And I think we could build a little bit of profile. Okay, so saying that, thank you for the presentations, for the good questions. It was really super enriching. If you don't mind, you could also just throw your PowerPoint or PDF on the Miro. Otherwise, I took some screenshots. I will do the homework for you just to make it accessible. And I hope to see you all again, latest in a month, no less than a month, because it will be beginning of July. And I wish you a wonderful week and see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.